Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Timi. As you know, I always bring to your screens the hottest informations and I can lay my hands on. I like to talk about lifestyle, tech, immigration, and all the juicy stuff. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about government support programs that are for new immigrants as well as low income earners in Canada. There are a couple of government support programs that help new immigrants to be able to gain their feet and kickstart their life in Canada. I have a list of them with me. Some of these programs are federal based and some of them are provincial based. I currently stay in Ontario and I am going to be mentioning two of these programs that are actually in Ontario and three of them that are federal based, meaning whichever province that you are, you can actually have access to this program, as well as the ones that I'm going to be mentioning that are actually for Ontario alone. These programs are also available for different provinces. What I mean is, different provinces have their own specific programs of that is the version of that program for Ontario. There is also a version of it in other provinces as well. And I'm going to be mentioning five of them. The first three federal programs is the GST and HST credits, the Canada Child Benefits, the Climate Action Incentive Payments, the Ontario. Now, that's the first three, which is the federal based. We have the last two that I'm going to be mentioning, which is the Ontario Trillium Benefit and also the one that we call the OSAP. I'm going to be breaking all this down for you as we go along in this video. I will be sharing my screen with you. The GST and HST credit is a credit that is applicable for everyone. That is, if you're a low income earner in Canada or you're a new immigrant. The reason why this is open for new immigrants is that when you're coming from your own country, possibilities are the conversion rate you'll be using when you get to Canada is of a lower value compared to Canada's currency. And when you qualify for these programs are usually based off your earnings from the previous year, which is like when you're filing a tax. For example, you're filing a tax in 2023, you're filing your tax for 2022. It's for the income you earned in 2022. So say for instance you landed in Canada in January of 2023, right? You can actually apply for this GST and HST credits, which you're just going to be telling them what you earned in your own country in the previous year. Really, it's very, very easy as long as most of the time people are actually qualified for this because you're coming from a new country. The GST and HST credit is the government's way of knocking off or also helping you with paying you back in terms of what you've actually spent. Everything that you buy here in Canada, you go to the store, you buy stuff online, whatever you are buying is being taxed, right? And you pay this GST and HST credit, and you pay this GST and HST on all this stuff that you buy. So it's the government's way of saying, okay, you've been actually spending a lot of money, and part of our way of giving back is giving you some credit off the tax that we've collected from you, right? So that is what the GST and HST credit does. So it's a way of the government paying you back for all the money that you've actually spent. And the GST and HST credit is usually paid to you quarterly. And most of the time, you either go for this first or you go for the child benefits. So when you land in Canada, one of the first things that you want to do, right? I said I was going to be sharing my screen, as I said. As you can see, I'm on the GST and HST page, right? And it gives you some information. It's telling you, okay, how much you can expect to receive, right? So the way GST and HST is calculated is, it's going to look at your income from the previous year, right? And it's going to say, okay, are you a single person? A single person can actually earn up to this, right? Annually. If you're married or you have a common law partner, right? You can earn up to this, and you can earn an additional $161 on every child that you have. That is, you are going to be getting a GST and HST benefit for your child as well. So this is what you are able to earn, and for you to actually start the registration process, when you come to this page, you go next, you can see eligibility, apply here at the top here. It is telling you, for you to apply, all you need to do is, if you have a child, right, you will be clicking on this form because you are going to be applying for the child benefits as well as the GST and HST together, right? But if you don't have a child, you click on this. Now, when you click on this, it shows you two forms, right? You can actually download this, print it out, and fill it manually, or you can download this PDF fillable and savable form, which you can actually fill on your computer, right? Download it, and then you just have to probably sign, which you can also even do an e-signature. You just need to print it out and then ship it out to the location where you would send it to, that is the tax office that is nearest to you. And usually when you download the form, I have the form somewhere here on my system. Let me show you the form. It's a pretty straightforward form. As you can see on this form here, it is going to ask you for your name, your social insurance number. It's going to ask you for your date of birth, mailing address, that is your current address. Usually the government have your address. When you register for your social insurance number, the government actually have all your records. So you're going to be putting all your records in. If your address has changed, it's fine. You can actually put your new address here when you're filling this, right? And it just gives you all the information that you need, right? Sorry, let me just minimize this. It's not giving me what I want. So it just gives you an information, and then you enter the information of your spouse here. It's the same kind of information you've entered above here. You're going to be entering your spouse's information here. Now, this A is telling you, are you a newcomer to Canada, right? It's telling you, you should enter the date that you entered. You and your spouse became a resident. That is, the day that you became a resident, when you came in at the point of entry, they're going to stamp you in, right? That day is the day you're going to be put in here. Returning resident to Canada. Except you're a returning resident to Canada, but if you're not, this B is not applicable to you. And then when you get to this step 4, you can see you have your income. It shows you all the information that you need. You're talking about your income here, and it's going to be telling you the first part, the year you became a resident in Canada. That is telling you to enter the year you became a resident of Canada. Now, if you became a resident of Canada in 2023, you are going to put 2023 here. Now, enter the income you earned from January of that year to the dates you became resident. Reason why it's asking you this question is, you could have come into Canada in February, right? And it's asking you, did you earn any income between January of the beginning of the year that you entered Canada and the dates that you actually entered Canada? So for instance, you entered in February of 4th of 2023. It's asking you, what income did you earn between January to that date that you actually entered Canada? Most of the time, you probably just need to enter 0 here. If you did not have an income, it's fine. You can actually enter 0 here. It's fine. And it's going to ask you 1 year before you became a resident of Canada. So you can say, for example, if you became a resident of Canada in 2022, you should enter 2021 right here. So I'm using this example now. You enter in 2023, you're going to be putting 2022 here, and you'll be entering your income, this for you and this for your spouse. 2 years before you became a resident, you're going to be entering the income you earned, and then you're going to sign, date it, and then when you scroll down here, it's going to give you location of all the tax offices that is close to you, right? So you come down here. Now it shows you that Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, all this province here. Now this is the tax office you're going to be sending this form too. New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Labrador, Ontario, all the provinces here are going to be sending it to this tax office, and for Quebec, you'll be sending it to this particular tax office, right? So as you can see, this is pretty straightforward. This is how you're going to send in. And to let you also know, the moment you actually send in, that is, you apply for this GST and HST, once your file gets to CRA, which is the agency in charge of these finances, once your file gets to CRA, they are going to actually check if you've applied for any of the other programs. If they notice that you've not applied to any of the other programs, they're going to look at the programs that you actually qualify for, and automatically they're going to activate these programs for you. The next program I'm talking about is the Climate Action Incentive Payment. This payment is also paid quarterly, similar to the first one that I mentioned, which is the GST and HST. Now, for Ontario, for Manitoba, for Saskatchewan, for the different provinces, right, there is a different amount that is being paid. Now, for example, for Ontario, it's telling you that for an individual, like on the base, say you are actually earning below, I think, 32,000 in a year, you are going to be qualified for $488 in a year, right? Now, if you have a spouse, that is, the spouse is going to be qualified for $244. Now, you're going to add the 244 to 488. That's going to be the total that you're going to be earning if you have a spouse. That is, if you don't have a child. Now, if you have a child, for the first child, right, in a single parent, now this is for those that are single parents, this is what you're going to be earning. But if you have a child, per child that you have that is under 19, you're going to be adding 122 on top of the 488 that I mentioned before, and this 244. Now, this total amount will now be split into 4 places, because you'll be receiving this money quarterly, right? Which means you're going to be receiving it 4 times in the year. Now, this money is being paid to you. I know some people here, say you're just 2 young couple without a child, people get between like $150 to $160 to $170 quarterly, right? Now, when you had this that you're receiving quarterly, with the GST and HST, now the GST and HST as well pays as high as, like I showed you earlier, you can also be getting quarterly as well, 150, 160, 170 quarterly as well. You know, everything in Canada is actually bills. You pay for your car insurance, you pay for your utility bills. Almost everything is monthly here, right? Even your housing, which most of the time, like for my home country, when you're paying your rent, you pay your rent yearly, right? But here in Canada, you actually pay this on a monthly basis. So you can imagine how hard it can be, especially when you're just arriving in Canada and you don't have a well-paying job yet. But this kind of funding from the government are the kind of funding that usually help a lot of people to offset most of this cost, right? So as I mentioned, the first one I mentioned is the GST and HST credit. Now this is the Climate Action Incentive Payment, which is also another kind of payment. Now I'm going to be talking about the Canada Child Benefit. People call it CCB. That's what I'm going to be talking about now. I'm going to be showing you this on my screen. Now, the CCB as well is the benefit that you get per child that you have. Now, it's not for all your children, right? That is maybe just one payment for all your children. No, for every child that you have, they get your payment for the Canada Child Benefit, right? And the payment also ranges. That is, if you have children under the ages of 6, as you can see on my screen here, under the ages of 6, you are qualified for 583.08 per month. Now, if you have children from 6-year-old to 17 years, you will be qualified for 491.91 on a monthly basis. Now, this calculation is based off if you are like you have a income of 32,797. At least that is what it is currently. That is their benchmark, that is their baseline right now. This can change over time, but currently this is their baseline, that is 32,797. Now, if you start to earn more than that, it is between this 32,000 to 71,000, there's a reduction in the money that you're going to be receiving, right? There's a reduction of 7%. They even also have a calculator whereby you can actually click on this calculator. Now it's going to tell you to accept, and then once you accept, it's going to ask you, oh, what tax year. Most of the time it's the previous year, right? We're in 2023, so you're going to pick in 2022. You're going to click next. It's going to ask you a couple of information. Where do you live, what province, what's your marital status, and you just click next. So let's just do for an example. You do next again. Now you select, are you married, are you divorced? So you are married, right? You click on next, and then it asks you, okay, how many children do you have? Enter the number of children you have, your date of birth, your spouse's date of birth. It's going to ask you all this information, and at the end of this calculator, it's going to give you an estimate of what you're supposed to be getting, right, in CCB for the whole year. It's just going to give you an estimate. It's usually an estimate right now with the calculator, but to an extent, most of the time, these calculators are correct if you have all the required information that is you are providing. If that's the same information that you're going to be providing for CRA, then the estimate that you're going to be getting off this calculator is probably the estimate that you'll be getting as well. And this child care benefit, the good thing about child care benefit, it's different from the two that I previously mentioned. The Canada child benefit actually is paid to you on a monthly basis. So you can imagine, for a low income earner who is qualified to be getting about almost 600,000, that is 589 or thereabout that I showed you earlier, on a monthly basis, you can imagine getting this for every child that you have on a monthly basis. It's going to help you to offset a lot of costs and take care of your child, right? As it is called, it's a Canada child benefit. This helps you to offset the cost for your children, right? Now, I'm going to be showing you another one. This one is called the Ontario Trillium benefit. Now, this is a different one from the three that I've mentioned in the video earlier, rather. The three that I mentioned earlier are actually federal programs. Now, this one is only for Ontario. I'm pretty sure that different provinces also have their own programs. Now, this Ontario Trillium benefit is just a way of the government of helping low-income earners to offset the costs of energy. And as you can see on this page, it says it's a combination of the Ontario Energy and Property Tax Credit, the Northern Ontario Energy Credit, and Ontario Sales Tax Credit. This Ontario Trillium benefit is also paid on a monthly basis, similar to the CCB and different from the first two that I mentioned, that is the Climate Action Incentive Payment, as well as GST and HST, right? This is also paid monthly, and usually people qualify from around, say, $54, $55, $60 on a monthly basis. You can imagine you're paying for electricity on a monthly basis, right? And you're going to be paying, say, depending on how you use the hydro in your apartment, you're going to be paying from, say, from $30 to $70 on a monthly basis. You can imagine getting $54 from the government towards your hydro bill, and you're able to use this to offset this, right? Isn't this great? You're going to be able to use this money to offset it, and it's usually paid, I think, on the 10th of every month. You can see it says it's paid on the 10th of every month, right? And this usually comes in handy, so it helps you to offset the cost for your hydro bills. The last one I'm going to be mentioning, a lot of people are not aware of this, and this is also, like I said as well, is most of these programs, especially the ones that are provincial based, most of the other provinces also have these programs, right? But they call it different names. I am based in Ontario, so I know a lot of stuff about the ones in Ontario, and that's why in this video the ones that I've added are also in Ontario. Now, for this last one, it's called OSAP. Now, this OSAP is Ontario Student Assistance Program. Have you been wanting to do a master's program, another professional program when you land in Canada? Now, this program is for you. You are going to be taking this program in a university or in a college, right? A diploma program, a certificate program, a master's program. If you are a new immigrant or you are a low income earner, I'm going to be advising you to quickly opt for this. Now, if you are a newcomer, especially before you get a job that is going to be paying you high income, right? The moment you land in Canada, apply for the OSAP, right? Now, that is if you're in Ontario for this, right? Apply for the OSAP. The government of Ontario is going to pay your full bill. That is the full tuition they're going to be paying for that school. The Ontario government is going to be paying it for you. And now, the way the OSAP works is the government divides your fund into two types. Now, they're going to give you the fund that goes towards your tuition, and there's also a fund that goes towards a loan. Now, they call one the grant and they call one the loan. The grant is the one that goes towards your tuition. The loan is the one that they give to you because they believe that as a student, you probably are not going to be working, or you're probably not going to get the kind of job that will pay enough of your bills. Now, the government will loan you this portion of the money, and they will tell you that you can pay this money over years, right, for you to repay this. And they give you 6 months after you start a job to actually pay this money back without interest on it. So say you are finishing a program in September, right? You still have 6 months after that September to return all that money. Say you have the fund lying somewhere, right? You can actually quickly return that money without interest on it. Now, the loan option is actually it's not a compulsory part. If you decide that you do not want the loan, you can actually leave the loan out, right? But if you want the loan, that is, if your needs require that loan, by all means, take it. Whatever you spend out of the loan, at the end of your course, you can return whatever is left back to the government, and they will help you make a calculation of what is left, that is, of what you've spent for that. So you can imagine having all these programs that is to support low income earners and newcomers to Canada. In this video, I mentioned 5 programs: the GST and HST, the Climate Action Incentive Payment, the CCB, that is the Canada Child Benefits, the Ontario Trillium Benefits, and the OSAP, Ontario Student Assistance Program. All these programs are created for low-income earners. A lot of people don't know about this when they come into Canada. A lot of people know about it and really share it with people. For a while, when I landed in Canada, I've heard people mentioning, oh, GST, HST, mentioning this. And I was like, oh, what's this? I'm probably not interested. It's nothing, right? But trust me, all these funds, they usually come in handy for you, right? Because all your bills are monthly, right? So you can imagine getting these bills coming. And the good thing about this, now, say for instance, you land in January of 2023, like I said earlier, you've not filed for this program yet, and say in November or say September, October, you remember that, oh, I've not applied for this program, and then you apply for one of these programs, that is GS and HST, right? Because you're actually applying for the previous year. So irrespective, even if you started working in Canada and you are an high income earner in Canada in 2023, right? Because these programs are based off the previous year, you are still going to be able to get benefits for that 2022. It will still be paid to you, and it would be cumulated for you. That is, because you've not been collecting it since the beginning of the year. Usually the payment even starts from, I think, July of that year. So you're supposed to have started getting it from July of 2022, but because you not applied for it and applied for it in September of 2023, all this will be accumulated for you, and you'll get the payment in a lump sum paid to you at once. So you can imagine receiving a climate action incentive payment of maybe like 800 just once, receiving your JSNHST, receiving like 900 just once. You can imagine you just receiving a total of like 2,000 just coming into your account here in Canada. Trust me, it's a big one for you. So I've taken it upon myself that I'm going to be sharing this information with you, as I'm aware that a lot of new Canadians are aware of this information, as well as some low income earners in Canada. So I've decided to share this video with you. In the coming videos, if you would like me to delve into each of this program and give you more information on this program, you can drop this in the comment section as well. All these pages that I showed you, I'm going to be putting the link in the description as well, so that you'll be able to access all these programs and read about it yourself. And I'm going to be saying again as a disclaimer for this video, as you know, I'm not a consultant. I just read information and process this information and share with my viewers, right? Thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe to my channel. If you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button. Kindly share my video as well to your friends and families, as my followers can also be on your timeline. Thank you. Bye.